So another awesome episode of This Is Us, and even though we did not get anything involving Jack's death, I do want to start off with him and his death because of all the comments that I got from last week's video. Now, when we saw the burnt down house, most people assumed that he died in the fire. Maybe from first glance you thought he burned up and the fire was actually physically burned and that's why he died. People pointed out that Mandy Moore / Rebecca was driving around with like his personal effects, which looked to be intact, so probably stuff he had on his body at the time of the fire. So I think there's a lot of different ways to look at this here. I personally am taking it that he could have died from smoke inhalation. Maybe he was not engulfed in the flames. Maybe he was able to get out of the house but had inhaled so much smoke that he died but wasn't burnt, therefore his things weren't burnt. And I also think this could relate to Kate, why she blames herself for being at fault for his death. Maybe she was in there and he came back to get her out. Maybe she was like in the shower or in a position where she didn't realize the house was on fire, or maybe she did realize it was on fire but she couldn't get out, or maybe she caused the fire. So there's several different ways to look at it. Either he came back in to get her, or maybe she was the cause of the fire, obviously not intentionally. Or we could look at it as not being related and say that their house did burn down but he died separately around that same time, which I think would be a little bit weird because I feel like based on the tweets of This Is Us, last week's episode, they were kind of saying that this was a big clue into his death, so I do feel like it has to be connected in some way. But let me know what you think about my thoughts and what your thoughts are about that. So obviously we don't have to have things about his death in every single episode because that's not how it was last year either, and I think that's totally fine. I do think that mystery will be completely resolved in this season, but I also think we'll still have flashbacks of him throughout the entire series, which I love because I love his character. So I want to talk about Kate. I understand her frustration with her mother to some point because I think she just always felt like, one, she could never live up to what her mother envisioned her being, and she could never live up to her actual mother, whether it was by looks or weight or talent or abilities or anything. She thought that as a child, as we also saw in last season, and she definitely thinks that now as an adult. However, I think she's being very, very hard on her mom, especially as an adult, and I mean as a child, as a teen, her dad was pointing that out to her. And I'm sure, like, as mother and daughter, there's blame on both sides. Like, you know, I definitely have had a lot of fights with my mom, but I don't feel like I treat her the way that, you know, Kate treats her mom, now that we're both adults. But I'm sure we've had some not very nice fights when I was growing up. But of course, I don't view my mom in the way that Kate views her mom. But I think, you know, she's being really, really, really hard on her. And I'm not trying to say Rebecca is an angel or a saint in any way, but especially in modern times with this show, I feel like she just genuinely wanted to come to her show, to Kate's show, to root her on. She had best intentions in mind. I don't think she was coming to make her feel bad, but I think she did say something a little critical when she was done, and that's just kind of the way she is. So I see that side of it too. But overall, I would definitely have to say, no matter what Rebecca is doing in present day, I still feel Kate is overstepping here, and she's just not being as nice as she could be. I do think maybe she should address her feelings and her frustrations toward her mom, but I think she's over the top. So let's talk about Randall. I definitely think that his worries and fears are valid about bringing in an older foster child. So it seems like they're going to foster some kids. Maybe we'll see a few kids, or maybe not. Maybe the first foster kid they have, they will end up adopting, but it seems like it might kind of be on a trial basis. And from the previews, it looks like they take in a teenage-ish girl and that things definitely blow up. And I also see his concerns as far as the dynamic of the family, like how are his daughters going to react, because they do have a really great dynamic right now. Their daughters are two really good kids and they are well behaved and just great kids. And if you throw someone into the mix who's had a lot of past trauma, they may not be as well behaved and they may have a lot of issues and outbursts, and it looks like that's exactly what we're going into next week. But I also understand his willingness to adopt, or at least to foster, and definitely his wife. And I think it's amazing that they're wanting to do that. My two first cousins, who are blood brother and sister, were adopted, and I have a lot of actual cousins in my family who were adopted, and I think it's such a wonderful thing to provide a great life for someone who might not have had a great life based on circumstances they couldn't control. So I think it's very admirable that they are going to try this process. Now, whether or not it works out, I don't know. I could kind of see it working out in the end, and that they adopt this person or one of these people. But we'll just have to wait and see. I also found the scenes with the Manny really funny, and I love what's going on in the relationship between Kevin and his girlfriend. I think it's really special. I definitely think they will have some issues probably this season because of the long distance factor and maybe other things, but I'm really glad they're in a good place, because last season he was all over the place relationship wise, and he was never in a good place really until maybe the very end of season 1. So I think it's really good to see him in a happy place and in a good relationship. So if there's something else that I've forgotten, let me know. I kind of have this feeling that maybe there was some other thing that happened that I should have mentioned. But anyway, what did you think about this episode? What are your thoughts about everything involving Kate and Randall and Kevin and Jack's death? If you didn't realize, I'm covering this entire season of This Is Us, and I also covered the entire last season, and there's a playlist on my channel if you want to check that out. So if you're new here, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe and thumbs up if you enjoy my videos and thoughts on This Is Us. But I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you next Wednesday with another This Is Us video. But I'm covering a lot of other shows now, so if you watch American Horror Story, Mr. Mercedes, sometimes I do Room 104, Riverdale, which comes back next week, then check out all my other videos on those shows. But anyway, have a great day. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Kelly TV. I would love for you to subscribe and be a part of the Kelly TV family. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter so you can keep up with all I'm doing.